Sorry. Okay, so basically, I think you've seen this, but this is just gives an idea of how many leaves we actually pick up. This is for 2015, 16, 17, and 19. We've gone from a low of 32,000 up to 36,000 cubic yards. And I use that and explain to people that's a lot of cubic yards, but what it really is, if you put it in the center of Giant Stadium, it would be a pile of leaves the full width of the football field, 18 feet high. So it's a real volume, and besides that, we put this through machines that reduce the leaves by 4 to 1 because we have machines that vacuum and chop them up. So it would be substantially more than that if we weren't doing it that way. A little hard to see, but same kind of thing. We've gone through this same 5-year period and tried to lay out how many cubic yards we pick up at different times during the leaf season. Our leaf season, we try to start at the first week in November, but of course, depending on what the weather is, we don't know what volume of leaves we're going to get. Sometimes we get a lot early, sometimes they hold on and they come down later. So weather has a big impact on that, but we're all ready, and we begin our process the first week. So you'll see variations. We have this by first, second, third, fourth week. The important thing is the third and fourth weeks usually are the week before Thanksgiving, and the week after. And when you see our numbers, that's where we pick up the highest volume of leaves. We also measure everything that we do by cubic yards per man hour. And our numbers show us that during that period of time, our cubic yards per man hour are the highest. So we focus on that. So the problem that, as I see it, if we reduce the overtime, and I thought when I put this together that we were reducing 125,000, I'm hearing now that it may be completely no overtime for leaf pickup. We're going to have leaves on the ground right through Christmas, through New Year's. My original projection was into February, but if we do not have any overtime, we will be picking up leaves in March. And if we have bad weather, we may be picking up leaves in April and May, because if it snows heavy on top of the leaves, there's no way we can pick them up. What happens is after the first of the year, and if you look at our numbers, after the 1st of December, the numbers go down. One, because if it's cold and the leaves are compacted and frozen, it reduces our production. The other thing is we don't have as much daylight, so we can't spend the time out there. So you definitely see a decrease in our ability to pick up leaves after December 1st. But for the last 5 years, we've been able to get the leaves up by the 20th, just a week before Christmas. That's what we've been, and the other good part about that is if we can do that, then we switch over our snowplow equipment, and we're ready if a snowstorm comes. Now, half of our leaf equipment that we use for picking up leaves is also snow equipment. So if we get a storm earlier, we have to knock that down, put the snowplows on. We have them set up so now it takes us about a half an hour. Years ago, it used to take us 2 hours to switch a truck. But we have to deal with the storm. And then after the storm, we have to re-outfit that, take that off, and get it ready to go. And then we have leaves that are wet or frozen and have snow on it. So just trying to explain what happens if we don't get the leaves picked up before the winter really starts to set in. And we don't know when. We had this discussion a number of years ago, and the supervisor then told me it never snows in December. And it snowed December 4th, and it snowed December 11th, and we had 6 inches and 8 inches of snow, and it does snow in December.
Well, Jim, if it's ever going to happen, it's going to happen this year.
Impacts.
We'll have storms all through December.
Yeah. So basically, the pictures I have here is what this will look like in Thanksgiving. Hanukkah comes early this year. So for those holidays, Christmas and New Year's, at the reduction that we were talking about, the $125,000, we're going to see these kind of piles of leaves in the roads or on the lawns, but now it's very hard to patrol 600 streets and stop people from putting it in the pavement. And right now we're on about a 21-day cycle from when we go through a section to get back. We have the town broken into 21 sections, and we have 8 units usually on the road picking up leaves, so that's what it takes, 20, 21 days to get back. If we don't have the overtime and we're not able to put the time in early, then this is going to get extended, and that's what I'm talking about. The issue, the lower here, this is a 30-foot road. This is built to ASHTO specifications after 1950. Most of our roads after 1950 were built that way, and they're 30 feet wide. That's about 60% of our roads. 40% of our roads were built before that, and we have roads that are 20 feet wide. So if you have leaves like this parked on both sides, you're lucky if you have a lane to get through, which becomes a serious issue. If we have a snowstorm, say we'll just go around the leaves. If it's a little bit of snow and we can, we try to do that. However, if it's a lot of snow, it has to be pushed back. If it doesn't get pushed back, it freezes in place, and then we can be fighting it for the rest of the winter. The other thing is, if the water is running out along the edge of these leaves, it's not getting to the catch basins. The drainage is not working. Or it's coming down, getting backed up and running into somebody's driveway. So these are things that we've experienced. That's why when we present our LEAF program to our taxpayers and our residents, we ask them not to put it on the road. That doesn't mean some people just get frustrated and they put it on the road. So I have a real feeling that if everybody understands that we're not going to be picking up leaves, they're not going to put them on their lawn. They're going to put them in the road, and we're going to have a policing issue. Because the complaint is if I leave it on my lawn, it kills the grass. Of course, we're going into a freezing season, but that's what happens. I've done some research. If you hire a third of an acre property, which is an average residential property that we service, and we have about 11,500 properties that we service, if you have hire somebody to blow your leaves off, just blow them off and pile them for the town to pick up, it's about $250 each time. If you have somebody pick them up, you're going to add another $200 to $250 to take them away, and there are only a few contractors that do that. Most contractors will not do it unless you're their year-round customer. You just call them up and say, I want you to come pick my leaves up. They're not coming. We've canvassed the big operators, and that's exactly what they told us. We only do that. Now, if it becomes evident that this thing is going to lay out there, I think there may wind up being a market for that, and people are going to pay that extra $250 to get the leaves taken away. And this is what I'm talking about, is if we have leaves that are on the ground that we can't pick up and they're covered with snow and frozen. Now, this is also an ASHTO road. This is 30 feet wide. If you have this on a 20-foot or a 22-foot wide roadway, you're going to have frozen walls on both sides. And when we're plowing snow, we have to push it back. One, because of the drainage, and because of the other issues. But when we're doing that, we're pushing leaves and snow in people's driveways. They're not happy with that. But there isn't anything we can do. So basically, I know it's tough. I know it's difficult, but I think it's my responsibility to make sure that the people that pay the taxes, that elect me, know what the impact is going to be. I can't just sit back and say nothing is going to happen, because it will. And it's not going to be because we don't want to do the job. It's just going to be because we don't have the time. There's a very small window between the beginning of November and the middle of December was the optimum times. Actually, it's the 4 weeks, 5 weeks in November. That's optimum time. Once we get into December, it slows down and it can be a problem. So thank you. I appreciate the time to be able to make the point, and I hope we can find a way to work this out.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Anybody want to say anything now? Or you just want
Thanks,
to-
Stefan, for
Thanks, Stefan.
setting this up for me. And the other thing, thank you for announcing the highway drive-through. We will be giving out T-shirts to the first 50, and we'll have bags with candy and things for any of the kids that come. It'll be a great way to start Halloween.
Thanks, Jim.
And our employees are volunteering their time.
Or are they going to have costumes on?
For the
That's what we
community.
want to know.
They will have costumes.
Yeah,
That's going to be up to
They're
them.
going to be dressed as highway.
It's the only day we didn't tell
Orangetown
them they have
highway
to wear their
workers, right?
uniform.
Okay. Okay, we're going to go on to workshop our agenda items. The first, number 3 and 4 are basically just changing the continuation date. We continued it till, I think, today, but the budget's not final yet, so we had to push it over. So we're just leaving it still open. We opened it the last meeting, just keeping it open till November 10th. That's for 3 and 4. 5 is the opening the public hearing on the preliminary budget. What we have is the original budget. None of the changes that I know there's been discussions about are included in what's out there now. Jeff will be working on that over the next week. Then we're continuing the public hearing again on the budget to November 10th. Number 7 is this was something that we had kind of held off on appointing Larry Buccarelli. There was questions about the board, but being it's going on a year, we don't know what's happening. We just want to make sure we're going to do it retroactively and just basically make sure that he's been going to the meeting, so we should make sure he's appointed. 8 is the CGI Communications. This is something I sent you on. This is Rockland County is working with this company. They basically will do quote-unquote free videos for the town, for the county. They are going to be reaching out to some of the businesses in town to see if they want to be sponsored. They pay for it, but they do nice kind of, for tourism and attractions of the town, so it doesn't cost the town anything. So basically, it's a very simple agreement. Rob looked at, so we're good. Just basically approving the video program. And if any of you want to be in it, let me know, because they will be looking for footage from public officials. 9, again, is the highway drive-through open house. Just changing the date. It was originally scheduled for earlier in the year, and it got pushed back. Number 10 is rejecting a bid for 2 waste leaf loaders. I think, Jim, did this go out to bid again? Is this you?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
We have.
11, 12, and 13 are basically lending aid. Actually, 11's already happened. That was this past weekend. The other one's the Penguin Plunge, and the other one is using the for the Boy Scouts. I had trouble there. Just basically using some of the OMM soccer complex. 14 is approving the installation of a street light. 15 is the same. I know it's something about moving one, whatever. I'm not even. 16 is the employee assistant agreement that we have. Just basically approving it. Is Donna here? Donna, that's the same as last year, right? You said nothing changed? Yeah. And then the audit and executive session. So pretty light agenda. So without further ado, we can open the public comment. Do I have a motion to open public comment? Okay, Paul Valentine. Do I have a second? Dennis Troy. All in favor? Aye. Okay, so first we have Susan Nemesdy.
Thank you. Last week, a few of us met with Supervisor Kenny regarding the H&A property, and we're delighted to learn that what we were proposing as a possible use was not new to the board. And that is, rather than the construction of a new town hall and recreation center, why not move them both to H&A? Not only does the H&A building easily accommodate all of the town's departments and needs, the recreation facility the town is currently proposing already exists at H&A, including an indoor swimming pool, 4 tennis courts, indoor basketball and racquetball courts, a fitness facility, and 106 acres of parkland. While at first it may sound like an extravagant move, it is by far the most practical and cost-effective for the town. If the police department were to also move, then this prime 5.3-acre property could be sold, along with the 3-acre building department property and some unused RPC land, pulling in several $1 million and perhaps be rezoned for those much talked about multifamily units. With the town occupying only half of the H&A building and a portion used for the recreation facility, the remainder could be rented or leased for multiple uses. The main entrance of the H&A could be used as a New York State Visitor Center, for which the state provides funding and would benefit local tourism and businesses. On the other side of the building, the 206 hotel rooms can be leased to either continue its use as is or be converted to an assisted living facility, further bringing in revenue for the town. There are plenty of large halls and restaurants that could also be rented for events. Other uses for the property could include campground for local scouting groups and clubs, an open-air amphitheater for small concerts and plays, or perhaps create an outdoor event area for weddings, fairs and festivals, and farmers markets. Moving the town hall to H&A provides the opportunity for the town to create ongoing revenue, pay for the move through the sale of 2 prime lots, which could be rezoned for the much-talked-about multifamily needs, and create a new public park while preserving the rustic characteristic of Orangetown. And I know the town's financial situation is very difficult right now. I just heard, some of the reasons why. But I also know that developers are actively looking to build multifamily housings, and they're looking for properties. So selling this property and the building department property and maybe some of the properties at RPC might help cover the costs, plus the actual market value appraisal of the H&A. It just might be worth looking into. And being that H&A's, contingency, and there are some potential buyers that don't have to wait for contingency. I'm just afraid the Chinese might sell it, So, thank you.
Okay, I found a timer on here. Okay, next, Carol Baxter. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for this. Carol Baxter from Palisades. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. Actually, I'm going to say exactly the same thing that Susan said. You know that the community has been very supportive of H&A's continued use, and we hope to welcome a new hotel, conference center, resort, and wellness center on the site. In our attempt to make this happen, the community has been reaching out to national investors and developers in the hospitality world, and we have begun to introduce interested companies to the H&A representatives. It is our assumption that when we get to the point of the RFEI, or the RFPs, that Mr. Zarin can also help us with those contacts. But since we've learned at the last special board meeting that the resolution included that the town's main interest is to work with H&A to find an appropriate buyer for the property, but this last resort may consider the town taking over the property for public good. I'm here to say that many of us are very interested in the idea of the town gaining control for public good, and we think it would be amazing and wonderful for the use of the town to move the town hall there. The road to the new town hall has been going on since 2017, and there's much more stopping and starting ahead, no doubt. With creativity, the town could create a hybrid ownership, something that Susan had talked about, partnering with an income-generating business. The building itself is 450,000 square feet, and it's already really divided into 2. The conference center on the south, and the hotel is on the north. The new proposed town hall is 27,000 square feet. The conference section of H&A is 48,000 square feet, so there's plenty of room for the building and the fire prevention department, plus ample room to include possibly the police department. The building that we are in now is prime real estate and could be sold along with the Greenbush building to offset the cost. I don't really want to go back into any more what Susan said, but the uses are endless. If you're partnering with a income-generating company, it would really be a great win-win for everybody. I think that's it. Thank you for hearing us, and anything that we can do to help this, to brainstorm or whatever, we're always welcome. We're always here, ready.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Barbara Meyer? Okay, I will just confirm, I told you I would share all the documents you gave me when we met, and I have shared it with the board, so they do have it all, so. Next, Michael Lawler? Three minutes.
3 minutes, I promise. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Mike Lawler. I'm a lifelong resident of Rockland County, graduate of Suffern High School and Manhattan College, where I earned my degree in accounting and finance. My wife Donna and I live in Pearl River, where I currently serve as Deputy Town Supervisor here in the town of Orangetown. In addition, I'm a small business owner and have been involved politically and governmentally for well over a decade. I'm running for the New York State Assembly in the 97th Assembly District, which includes all of Orangetown and part of the town of Ramapo. The reason I decided to run was very simple. We need a new voice in Rockland County and someone who will fight for the change we need in Albany. Unfortunately, Rockland County and New York State have become unaffordable for working families, seniors, and young people just starting out. It's why 1.1 million New Yorkers have left our state over the last decade. Rockland County taxpayers pay the second highest property taxes in America. It's unacceptable. We need to make Rockland more affordable by cutting taxes and business regulations to make our state economically competitive, grow our economy, and create jobs. We need to reduce our property tax burden by making the state fully fund and run our broken Medicaid system. We are the only state left that forces the counties to pick up 25% of the costs. It's outrageous. We need to fix the broken state school aid formula, which shortchanges our children and increases our property taxes. Our labor costs are treated like Poughkeepsie and upstate New York schools as opposed to Long Island and New York City, costing us millions in state aid. It needs to stop. And we need to get our fair share of state aid for infrastructure, energy, and transportation. Sadly, we've seen reductions in rail service and the passage of congestion pricing, hurting Rockland County commuters. We should not be paying $40 million more in taxes to the MTA than services we receive. And with respect to public safety, it is the #1 role and responsibility of government. We need to repeal the disastrous cashless bail law that my opponent co-sponsored to restore public safety in communities all across New York. We need to work with law enforcement to keep our communities safe and make sure they have the resources they need to ensure equality and justice for all New Yorkers. I will be that assemblyman. I will work with our elected officials from both parties, community leaders, and our residents to ensure that Rockland County has the representation we deserve in Albany and to make sure that our community's needs and interests are put first. I'm honored to be endorsed by Laborers Local 754, IBEW 363, the Rockland County Building and Construction Trades, Operating Engineers Local 825, Rockland County PBA, New York City PBA, and many other law enforcement unions across our state. Those are the people that I will represent, the hardworking men and women of our community who deserve a voice in the Assembly that will work for them, not the radical voices coming out of New York City. And let me just say, as our Assemblyman, I will make sure that I am available and responsive to the needs of our town. I will attend at least 2 town board meetings a year, providing updates on what's going on in Albany and engaging with you, the elected leaders, and our residents on the important issues and how we can work together to address them. If you'd like to learn more about my campaign, please head over to lawler4ny.com and join us. On November 3rd, I hope to earn your vote, and together we can restore balance and common sense to state government. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin Garrison?
Good evening, how are you? I just want to make one note. Thank you for the town board for the work you do trying to get these commercial properties occupied with tenants that fit the town of Orangetown. It's very important, so thank you for the work you do for that. One concern I have, my name is Kevin Garrison, I live in Pearl River. It's a property in Pearl River that is bordered by 304 on the west and on the east, the railroad tracks. 3 years ago, the developer cleared the property. I estimated between 5 and 6 acres of land or so. And nothing's happened in the 3 years since he cleared the land. He brought in a lot of fill, including several hundred yards of crushed glass to be used as fill, which is normally allowed, except it has to be covered when it's complete, so it's not exposed to the environment and the effects of runoff and things of that nature. Those piles of glass remain uncovered to date. Also, the entire property is supposed to be surrounded by silt fencing to prevent silt and sediment from running off into the waterways in the area, like the Muddy Brook and the 3 or 4 drainage swale. Silt fencing is largely unmaintained, and the roadway leading to the site has no barrier to prevent traffic from entering it. So occasionally, there have been trucks dumping illegally in the middle of the night. Large piles of blacktop, concrete, and several smaller piles of construction debris, windows, and sheetrock. So I'm just curious what the town can do to help secure that site with the developer, and what the rules are for builders that occupy these sites, that they let it go vacant for so long without doing any work. It's a big concern. If he wasn't going to build there in the first place, he shouldn't have cleared the land until he's ready to complete the project. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, is there anybody else that hasn't? Eileen?
Good evening, members of the board. I'd like to comment on Jimmy Dean's concerns about the overtime for the 2021 budget. I've always considered the Highway Department one of the essential departments here in Orangetown that has always done an excellent job. And realistically, I think about 9 years ago, we had a storm on Halloween, and the following year, we had another storm around the same time. One was Irene, one was, I don't know, I can't remember. But anyway, I think you should carefully consider his request that the overtime not be withheld. I also understand that the town might be considering recreational center. It's not an essential need. It's more essential that this town have its department run properly. And I don't think we need a recreation center at a time when, especially to build one. I'd like to piggyback off of Susan's comments about placing some of these at an existing facility. But people are out of work. People have lost their jobs. There's no certainty out there. Our taxes cannot go up for a recreational center. We have to keep our essential departments running. That's what makes Orangetown a great place to live. The police, the highway, the buildings department. If I left you out, forgive me. But that's what's important. If you're planning to build a recreational center, please take it off the table right now. I mean, I know people, I'm a small business owner. My business is shot. I can't go to people's homes. And it's done. And I'm only a small percentage. And at this time in my life, after 38 years in business, I can say I was successful, and it's okay. But for those small people, new people starting out, it's not a good time. I know people who lost their medical insurance. They're now paying COBRA. They're trying to keep a roof. Thank God we had that, whatever money we got from the government that time, and now overtime. It's not going to keep people's a roof over their heads. We have businesses closed down here in Tappan with no business going on. I don't know. All I'm asking you for is to give us a budget that we can live with. Maybe reduce our taxes for once in a lifetime. But we have to keep the essential departments running. We have to keep the leaves off the road. They do a great job in the wintertime with the snow removal on the streets. We have great departments in Orangetown. And if we don't keep them up and running, I don't mind paying taxes to have my highway run properly, the sewer flushing. That's fine with me. But I don't want to pay for somebody to have recreation. I don't have time for recreation. I have to I babysit my grandchildren. I run a home. I don't have time. If you want to have recreation, find it at your own cost, not at my cost after 49 years. I have no income coming in except Social Security. I'm tired of it. I'm seriously planning to move after 49 years. I cannot afford to live here anymore. But it's a great town. I've had 49 great years. And God, inshallah, God willing, other people can enjoy the next 49 years.
Thank you, Eileen. Is anybody else who hasn't? Barbara?
Barbara Dello from Blauvelt. One of the previous meetings, Dennis Troy spoke about senior housing, and he spoke about upscale senior housing as they have off Veterans Parkway there. And he also spoke about income-restricted senior housing, noting that we have both of these in the town. As you do budget work and planning with the planning board and things, please consider the large number of Orangetown residents who fall between these two groups. I know I'm president of the Blauvelt Orangeburg Republican Club, and many of us fall between this group. Many of us have lived here many years. Some are second and third generation people in the area who are now, they grew up here. They're now their children, they're getting married, their children, and they're looking for housing that's nice, in a nice community like they love, but also housing that is reasonable. And it also, the seniors, like Eileen, as the town is moving towards becoming more affluent, that's very difficult for seniors, and it's often that in-between group that is the one that's forced out of their homes by the cost of living around here. So, and just one other comment, as more affluent people move into the area, I think even they appreciate that taxes here are lower. We're lower than Clarkstown, we're lower than Ramapo, our taxes here. So as you look for the budget, I kind of agree with Eileen that recreation's nice, but, not if it means losing your home. And so I just wanted to do that. I guess I don't come to the meetings just to hear myself talk. I come kind of to be a voice for this group of Orangetown residents who love the town, would like to stay here. Maybe some have just moved here and grew to love it, but don't fall in the very affluent or the very income restricted, which is a large part of the town. And I thought that was an interesting discussion about the property in Palisades. However, one thought came to mind, which is that it would, if that were ever to happen, the police would not be centrally located, and that might be a disadvantage. So I just wanted to add that. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Barbara. Is there anybody else who hasn't had a chance to speak that would like to speak? Is everybody here spoke? Okay, so can I? No? Good, okay. Motion to close?
Motion closed.
Okay, Tom, do I have a second? Okay. Dennis, and all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so I'm just going to make a couple comments to address some of the issues. So as all of you know, the community center started with Chris Day, I guess a year ago, if not longer ago, or 2 years ago, different time. So when I came in, we basically, it was probably 80% done. So the decision was made by the board to finish it and to put it out to bid. Very much saying we'll wait and see what happens, what it comes back with. And of course, then COVID hit. The current budget doesn't have anything in it for next year's for the community center. So if it's something that's going to be done, we're going to have to look at bonding. And again, no decision has been made by this board as they sit here now. But what I will say is that the pension contribution cost went up 1.2 million over what we had to do last year. So the preliminary budget, I cut things I would never want to ever cut. Programs at the school, the DARE program, the Candle program. Not one department that is happy. Not one is happy. I will tell you that right now. We are looking at reducing police officer positions. I mean, nothing went left untouched. So I agree with you, Eileen, that we want our leaves picked up. We don't, but at some point there's really nowhere else to go. So this, again, my preliminary budget had cut half of it, but we're at the point where to get under the tax cap, it's got to come from somewhere. So I know the board is still looking at it, still looking what can be done. I mean, going back to recreation, we told our parks director, he had some programs that we were losing money. We said either you make it cover itself or you have to cut the program. I mean, and these are programs that have been around forever. My kids went to the school camp, for free, but there's no more free. So, I'd love to give Jimmy everything he asked for. His department does a great job. Again, we'll be looking at the budget as we go from here, but it has to come from somewhere. So on that, I'll let my colleagues speak.
I'll just, Teresa hit the budgeting hammer on the nail. As far as the H&A property, we hired counsel. We're going to do everything to make sure that we can develop that property in a way that fits in with Orangetown. But one of the speakers kept saying how we're going to build multifamily housing in the rest of Orangetown. I'm not going to do that. I'm not for that. I'm not going to save the H&M property and finance it by building multifamily housing in Pearl River, Orangeburg, and Blauville, and no one on this board, I don't think, would be for that. So just so anyone who's watching, this town board has no intention of building multiple multifamily units in any other part of Orangetown as part of this consideration. I just want everyone to know that, because if I was sitting there watching TV and hearing that, multifamily housing is going in the rest of Orangetown, I'd be very concerned. This is a rural community. This is a suburban community. We don't want to be the sixth borough of New York City. That's about it. Paul?
Yeah, I'll go. One of the earlier speakers got up and gave a campaign speech. That doesn't happen here that often, but it has happened in the past. And what I would like to say is, again, I've been on the board a long time. We need somebody up in Albany who actually represents the people of Orangetown. And I'm telling you that from my experience. We are not represented up in Albany. And again, Mr. Lawler mentioned the no bail release of prisoners. You could take what Teresa just talked about, the pensions going up millions of dollars from last year. That's a state mandate. The state itself is shifting money from one place to the other and sticking it to the municipalities. All right? So therefore, we have to come up with ways to keep everything under the cap. That's the governor. The governor wants the cap. I think the cap was a good idea. We've stayed under the cap each year. We're going to stay under the cap this year. But the state itself, that budget still hasn't been figured out up in Albany. That budget in Albany is a mess. And the governor can blame it on everybody else, but really, all he has to do is look in the mirror. And the assemblymen and senators up in Albany should look in the mirrors, because they're not doing right by the municipalities. The last thing in terms of community center, I've been a liaison to the seniors for a whole bunch of years. And the one thing the seniors have talked about is not a recreation center. What they did want is a community center where they could have, large-scale meetings. And it's something that if we can do sometime in the future, whether it's next year or the year after that, I would still like to see it done. Thank you.
Just quickly on the budget, this is a very difficult budget year. See, the old saying, right? You can't have your cake and eat it too. So something has to give. When you're cutting police officers or positions in the police department and cutting out moving leaves, if every department stayed flat, we'd be well over the cap. So even with the departments doing all they can do, which they have done, and our department heads have done a great job with the budget as well as Teresa, you're still over the cap. If the leaves make it till January instead of December, to me, it's better than having people's taxes go up. So it's a tough decision. It's a tough balancing act. Either you're going to get mad at us because we're well over the cap, or you're going to get mad because the leaves are a month longer in the roadway. So it's a very hard act
to do gracefully, and we're doing the best we can to try to stay underneath the cap again this year. This is the hardest year we've had, I think, since I've been on the board, because of everything that happened. I mean, between sales tax revenue, mandates from the governor, COVID, just there's so many things piling on. It's a very hard budget year. And I agree with Dennis as far as this started out as a senior/community center. It started out because the seniors have asked us for something. We brought it to the point where we can make an educated decision, but right now, there is none of that included in this budget. In fact, the town board pretty much got the brakes, the town hall pretty much had the brakes put on it because of what's going on with the budget this year. So we are taking everything carefully. We are not trying to drive people out of the town because of high taxes, but we also want to keep young residents coming to the town because of the amenities the town offers. So it's a very hard balancing act. And just so you know, we are doing the best we can. And we do take input very seriously from all of the public. So feel free to review as much as you can and let us know what you think.
Yeah. First with HNA, it's a beautiful piece of property up there. It's 106 acres that was taxable, probably not what it was when it was in its full swing, but I don't know about moving everything there and losing that taxable. I would rather personally see something go there that fits the community, that is taxable. I just, the budget, you heard it from everybody else. I'm not going to bore you with it. It is a difficult budget, but, none of us are looking to raise any taxes. The last thing I have is, Jane, could you possibly answer Kevin's questions? Because I don't think that I can, with the property over.
Sure.
Yeah. It's the hillside property, right?
So we were not aware that if there has been illegal dumping, that was not brought to our attention. I will remind anybody that's watching and anybody in the room, we do have an online code complaint that can be done 24 hours a day. So even though we're not on at night, when we get in the morning, we'll see it and we'll send an inspector out right away. If there is a violation where the silt fence isn't in place, we will definitely take care of that. So I'll send an inspector out tomorrow. That job is on hold. Obviously, the town cannot control the contractor's sequence and construction. It is also my understanding that the property is looking to be sold. So I believe they're, in negotiations of that, in doing that. And that's where it stands. That's all I have. But again, we'll send somebody out tomorrow.
I mean, Rob, maybe you can just, I know that it was the subject of litigation, like there was approvals and then there was litigation and it had to stop, right? There's like a long history, right?
I agree with Jane. There has been there had been litigation. That was resolved, and I did hear that there had been discussions of selling, and I don't know if it actually closed, but it did seem like the project was going to move forward. Of course, the last 6 months, that certainly had something to do with it, I would imagine.
Right. Prior to COVID, we did have a lot of title search requests that came in and information requests, so I just don't know where that is at this point.
I drove by that property today, and I was looking at it, and Kevin is right. It's not in great shape. A lot of the work they might have put in, they just added more cost on it, because if you drive by there, a lot of the stuff they, dug out, it's coming all back. Like if I drove by it this morning, right. And it's like they spent a lot of money to dig that property out, and it's, getting overgrown already.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I'm not privy to what the situation was with the developer and his financial situation and what happened. But they are required to keep the site safe, and we'll make sure that happens.
Thank you.
Terrific. Thanks, Jane.
And I will just add quickly on the H&A that tomorrow I do have a scheduled call with our outside counsel and with representatives of H&A. Just we haven't spoken in a while. It's just going to, so I don't know if there's any updates, but I'll certainly let everybody know if there's any updates from that call tomorrow. So anything else? Okay, then we can go to our first item, which again is just changing the public hearing, which is technically still open. We're just basically continuing it to November 10th from today. So can I get a motion?
So moved.
Dennis Troy moved, second. Paul Valentine, all in favor? Aye. Same idea, we're just basically keeping it open. It's open now, we're just going to change it from tonight. We're keeping it open until November 10th on these other, the Blauvelt Library, Orangetown Library, the Palisades Library, and the Pamphry Library for their, so can I get a motion?
Yep.
Jerry Batari, second. Paul Valentine, all in favor?
Aye.
I saw his hand before I heard the voice. Okay. Okay, so we have, 8 o'clock, okay. So we're going to open, did we take another sheet? Did we have a sheet up there for the public hearing? Okay. Oh, we did, okay. Okay, so we're going to open the public hearing on the preliminary budget, and then I think we're going to continue it, so we're not going to close it tonight, but can I get a motion to open the public hearing? Tom Divany, second.
I'll second.
Dennis Roy? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so I'm asking for the notice of posting affidavit of publications. You got it? Okay. So again, the budget that's out there is, I guess, the preliminary budget. There will still be changes made. There will still be another opportunity to talk about it. But if there's anybody here that wants to talk about the preliminary budget, there's no one signed up, so. Nope. Going once?
Move to continue.
Move to continue by Dennis Troy. Do I have a second? Second, Tom Divany, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so, okay. Reappoint Larry Buccarelli to the Historic Areas Board of Review. Again, this is kind of a retroactive house cleaning, I guess, for lack of a better word. Can I get a motion?
Yep.
Tom Divany moved, Jerry Batari second, all in favor?
Aye.
Approve the agreement with CGI Communications for the community video program. Can I get a motion? I'll move it. Second?
Yes.
Dennis, you're taking too long. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Number 9, amend the Town Board Resolution 2020. This is to just change the date for the open house drive-through from May to October 31st. Can I get a motion? Paul Valentine, second.
I'll second.
Dennis Troy, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to reject the bids for the 2 yard waste leaf loaders. Okay, that's, Tom is happy to do that one. Have a second? You got him? Second?
Yep.
Jerry Batari, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, resolution to approve lend aid to the Rockland GA and NYPD FDNY benefit. Basically, the showmobile at a rental cost of $500. Can I get a motion?
I'll make it.
Dennis Troy, I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution to approve lend aid for the Penguin Plunge fundraiser on October 23rd, 2020. Can I get a motion?
Yep.
That was Jerry? That was Jerry? I heard a yuck. I second Dennis Troy. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution to approve use agreement with the Blauvelt Boy Scout Troop 55 to use the Orangetown Mighty Midget Complex. Can I get a motion? Paul. Second. Who else was a Boy Scout? Come on. Dennis Troy. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Recommendation of the Traffic Advisory Board to approve the installation of a street light at 753 Route 340 in Palisades. Can I get a motion? Paul Valentine.
Sure.
Second, Jerry Batari. All in favor?
Aye.
And number 15, approve the installation of a street light at the corner of Cleveland and Villa in Pearl River. Can I get a motion? Dennis Troy, second. Tom Divany, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes, Pearl River.
Thanks.
Okay, resolution to authorize or approve the EAP agreements with ESI Employment Assistance Group. Motion? Tom Divany, second.
I'll second.
Dennis Troy, all in favor?
Aye.
We're trying something new. We're not opening and closing because we're in a public meeting. So we're just going to have number 17. Shaking things up. Okay.
Okay. The audit for tonight's meeting consists of 2 warrants for a total of $621,000. First warrant had 31 vouchers for $147,000. Items of interest, number 1, Chair of the Workers' Comp Board, $15,000 for the three-quarter 2020 bill. Second warrant had 102 vouchers for $474,000. Items of interest, number 7, Capasso and Sons, $68,000 for recycling. Number 9, Fleet Pump and Service, $15,000 for a pump replacement in the sewer department. That's bonded money. Number 12, NIPA, $22,000 for the streetlight project. And number 14, Rockland Waste Paper, $15,000 for recycling at OHA. That's the full year 2020 payment. Any questions on the audit?
I have a question for you. Pearl River A Senior Club reimbursement.
Yes.
That's not the Westchester movie dinner theater thing, is it? Do you
No.
know? No. Okay.
No, but it's part of the money that's allocated to each of the senior clubs in Orangetown.
I know that we had
In
a
that particular case, it's Pearl River Senior Rate.
No, we're having a problem with, not just us, apparently Haverstraw and Stony Point, where the seniors paid for things at the Westchester Dinner Theater, and they can't get their money back.
Oh, you kid.
So, anyway, so we're, I don't know, did anyone call you, Rob,
No.
about it? Okay, so I think we were talking about having the town attorneys, whatever, so I didn't know if that was related to that or not.
That's not this.
Okay,
All right.
okay, okay. Okay, so to approve, Dennis Troy, second? Tom Divany, all in favor? Okay, so we are going to be entering executive session to consult with legal counsel regarding legal matters. We are not going to be coming out and not voting on anything. So what we are going to be adjourning in memory of Denise Holt, a resident of Pearl River, Mary Lynch, a resident of Sloatsburg, sister of Edmund O'Day of Pearl River and member of Breast Buddies, Lawrence Madigan, a resident of Pearl River, and Terrence Youngman, resident of Orangeburg. So can we get a motion to enter executive session and close it in memory of these individuals?
So moved.
Dennis Troy. Tom Divany, all in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone. Jane is going to join us in executive session. I found a timer on here.